Hello and welcome back to the Spin the Rock podcast. I'm your host, Angel, and with me today are my co-host.
Eugene?
And Vaughn.
Man, I sometimes forget how dead September is for basketball. Yeah, it's so close to the NBA season, but yet it also is like the most dead month of the year in terms of news and just anything happening at all. So without further ado, it's gonna be a shorter episode probably, but still we have the hot seat and the main topic. And today's hot seat question is: who has the best NBA celebration of all time? You got the Curry Night Night, Dame Time. Who has the best of all time?
Well, when you first said that, I immediately thought LeBron silencer. Like
Oh,
that's
true.
the one I think of first. So I think there's something to be said about that. But my favorite is the Carmelo 3 to the dome. It's
Yeah,
so
that's a
simple,
good one.
so quick, so iconic.
Right. Like what Vaughn was saying, like when you first brought it up, I immediately thought Melo. I did think LeBron, but he was second. But with the 3-point line and how it's essentially changed the game, I feel like you start to see or you see more even like younger players doing that, and they may not know who has done it, they've just seen their favorite player do it. I also kind of want to say the little J.R. Smith celebration. Y'all know
I
which one
was
I'm talking
I
about.
was thinking that, bro.
Exactly.
Uh yeah, those are both really solid. Yeah, it's kind of hard not to go straight to like LeBron, like, the silencer. That one's like, bro, soccer players still do that to this day. Like that's how infamous it is. One that would be probably way more popular if it wasn't such an average player who does it. Ice in the veins, bro. That shit is hard. It just sucks that it's D'Lo's and like D'Lo, bro. If he was just any better, I feel like his celebration would be like 10 times more popular.
Mhm.
I think what makes it so difficult for like something to be iconic is, do you look corny doing it, or does it look more like a respect and tribute type of thing? Because I think a young guy doing the Carmelo 3 to the head, okay, that's respectful, or at least in Bogdanovich's chance in the finals of the Olympics, he did it as like a spit in the face because it's so iconic.
Mhm.
Whereas, like, if some rookie is out here doing the silence, LeBron silence, it just looks wrong. Like, you don't get to do that.
Right. I actually have a couple others actually. Maybe not like the greatest celebrations of all time, but um Westbrook's, rock the baby. I feel like people are starting to use that a lot more in different sports, as well as, D'Lo's ice in the veins too. Starting to see that as well in other sports. But yeah, maybe not necessarily the greatest, but I definitely think, we'll see that for years to come.
Yeah,
I could definitely see that happening. Do we have a least favorite?
Oof.
I hate the too small thing, bro. I don't. I want to say Russ did it first, but like now it's gone to the point where like everyone does it for like the littlest things, bro.
Right.
Like Pat Bev doing the too small, like bro, like
He's like, no one's smaller than you, bro.
like it's just gone to the point where people do it like in the most like mundane of like actions, like I was watching CSU versus CU yesterday. The quarterback QB like ran out of bounds and did the too small, and I was like, I'm just like, bro, that's too small is just like gotten out of hand. Like people just pull it out, just like no matter the circumstance.
Mhm.
Whereas before it was like, I want to say Russ started it, but it was like Russ dunking like aggressively and doing like that was hard.
Right.
But now it's
Yeah,
like
because
Pat Bev doing like a layup, like and then he's doing it too small.
Like Russ was doing that to people he didn't like, you know. So like
Yeah.
it hits, but when other people they're just like you said, it's just like too much of a common occurrence.
Yeah. That's one of my
Drains
least favorites.
the weight of it. I'd say, yeah.
I don't know if I have a least favorite one, at least that I can think of off the top of my head.
Yeah, like one I think would be average. I would say is like the Steph Curry like putting the baby to sleep. I think that's like a very okay, but
Mhm.
that's as far as I go. Like I don't think I have one I necessarily hate.
Hmm.
Um, but I would say Angels is a good pick.
All right. Moving on, continuing our what if series today. Our what ifs are based around singular players, injuries, actions, um, ring chasing, bag chasing. It doesn't matter. It's just what did a player do to cause a ripple effect across the league, or what happened to that player that caused a ripple effect across the league. Who wants to kick us off?
I can go. As you can see, I got young LeBron behind me. That's because I said, what if LeBron was a lifer for the Cavs? Like, if something about that Cleveland water just couldn't change his mind, couldn't rip him away, he's just staying there all his life. Um, Now, obviously, we know he's probably not going to be a four-time champion. Um, but does he win any championships? I don't know, bro. Like, no matter what the Cavs could do, because we saw it in his first term there. Like nothing was happening. No vets could help him. They couldn't get the All-Star poll because it's Cleveland, you know. So it would have to be such a string of good luck. Like he could drag his teams to the finals no matter how much. But I think it would come down to injury luck, and I think that would always be hanging over his head. Um, but even aside from just LeBron's career, think of like who would be in that GOAT conversation in place of LeBron if he doesn't have all those championships and accolades. Low key, Tim Duncan might be a 7-time champion if that doesn't happen.
That's true.
He could be right there up in the Jordan GOAT talk, you know? Obviously, you would have the roster around him, and he's always been Mr. Consistent, Mr. Reliable. I think the only thing that would be nagging at him is, I guess, being Mr. Fundamental. It's kind of like not the flashiness, and maybe someone would use that to try and like speak down on his career, but that's like the only thing I can think of. If he does win as much as he does, he'd probably be up there in the highest winning percentage of any player ever, at least for like all-star, all NBA players go. And then just think how the East would be different. Who else would be going to the finals instead of like those LeBron Heat teams, LeBron Cavs teams, if that doesn't happen? Like we might have seen Paul George with Indiana in the finals. Derrick Rose might have been in the finals, especially considering like those are probably the Bulls teams are probably rolling over some of the weaker East teams. Maybe he doesn't play as many minutes. He doesn't have to play as many games. He avoids the injuries. He gets to the finals. There's a lot of branching path this
Right.
creates here. So
And you also got to think about too, later down the line they ended up drafting Kyrie. So it was like they probably would not have done that because they wouldn't be in the position to do that. So then where would Kyrie end up and play his time? So yeah, I think that was a very good one to start off on.
I think I think that's like the biggest reason why he probably wouldn't have any championships, bro. The reason why he like when he left, they spiraled to the point where they had a lottery pick, But I feel like with LeBron would have been like they would have been good enough to like always be like conference finals, second round exits, maybe a finals here and there. But like that's not okay if you're Cleveland, because like Juan said, who's coming to Cleveland on their own free will? Like, yeah, it's LeBron, but like
I mean, especially at that time too,
yeah.
even though he was as good as he was, coming out of high school or whatever, no one's going to Cleveland in 2003.
Yeah. Exactly.
Like even think about like the vets that did come. It was like a washed Shaq at one
Yeah.
point. That's the best he could get. So,
I can go next. I'm gonna keep it in the goat talk. What if like Jordan never went to play baseball, bro? Like I can't. We might be saying that Jordan is like untouchable right now. He might have like an all-time record, as in like 9 rings back to back. Like like he
Right.
might be like unstoppable, defined. LeBron's not even close. Like go if he
Yeah.
didn't retire for those like was it 2-3 years?
I think it was 2. Well, 2 seasons. It might have
2
been 3
seasons.
years. Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, I just like imagine if he never went to play baseball, bro. The
Right.
Houston Rockets didn't have any rings probably.
Mm-hmm. And on top of that, too, because I mean, he did retire. What was it? Twice, right? Or was it
Yeah.
just that once? Um. So you could even go as far as what if he didn't retire until like 2003 or whatever. You know what I mean? Um. Would he have stayed on the Bulls? Would he have left the Bulls at any point? You know, uh, can't think of anything else. But um, yeah, I think that would just be crazy,
yeah.
bro. Like, how many rings would he actually have?
No, for real.
I know a lot of people like bring up injury conversation, like why Jordan would probably get hurt in that time span. You can't really predict that,
Mhm.
like who knows what key player maybe on the other team gets injured. Um, but that would be such a legendary finals if it was a Bulls versus Houston Rockets, because like we all know how good Hakeem Olajuwon and well deserved those 2 rings he has were earned.
Oh, for sure.
But like that may be 7-game series each time, considering. Like that Bulls defense would have to go crazy, like on everyone else besides Hakeem Olajuwon. I think it would probably happen, and then Jordan walks away with 8 rings or whatever. But like, we also have to consider like from when he came back from baseball, he was like in a different conditioning. Like
Mhm.
remember when he came back in the I think playoffs faced the Magic, they got destroyed,
Yeah.
and Michael Jordan was clearly like not 100% because his baseball conditioning was nothing like his basketball conditioning. So just like little things like that would be different too. Um, but man, seeing Rockets Bulls in the finals would go all time. Like I
Oh,
think
for
we
sure.
missed out on that.
No, for real. And
Most
not only
definitely.
that, but like, what if like who'd have known who would have joined the Bulls during that era with Michael still there?
Mhm.
Because people were flocking to the Bulls, like Horace Grant and shit like that. But also Scottie Pippen, the only reason why he stayed for so long was because he had that era of being the main guy. He probably would have left way.
Right.
He probably would have left way earlier.
But then, I mean, I guess depending on if the Bulls traded him or just let him walk, you know, either way, it would have freed up cap, so they could have signed someone, maybe not as good, but someone to fill in the gap. You know.
Yeah.
Also, like
Oh, you got it.
even on the second retirement after their last championship, that was really due to like Jerry Krause. I think is what it's associated with. Like he wanted to tear down the team, start
Mhm.
anew. So it
Mhm.
probably have to be a change of ownership. I also wonder like how that team looks. Like like you said, maybe Scottie Pippen leaves early. But like I wonder how they fade from being great to just being a worse team over years just due to age. I wonder how that looks and if that even like affects Jordan's legacy somehow, even if he does have 8 rings, like they watch him fade. Because one of the big things about being a very great player is the hate that comes with it, and I really kind of want to see what that would look like too. Because all they really got now is like, well, he retired 3 times over and didn't play quite as long as a guy like LeBron. So I think that discussion would be very interesting too.
Um, I mean, for me, I guess my opinion on that, like, you know, everyone or a lot of sports fans, basketball fans, pure basketball fans know that Michael Jordan played on the Wizards. but nobody ever talks about his time on the Wizards. So I feel like it would be kind of like that, as he gets older and just fades out, and if he were to ever, come off the bench, I feel like it would be kind of like that. But I don't. Who knows? I don't know.
No, for real, because he retired on a high both times.
Yeah.
He went out with a bang. Like I can't imagine if he retired 8 seed in the conference, losing in the first round, like getting swept. Like he would probably have a lot more haters than he does now. Because I feel like he really doesn't have haters like that. No one's really a Michael Jordan hater, and if they are, like, it kind of just started with like our age group. Like people
Yeah.
just started being a Michael Jordan hater. It probably would have been like way earlier. Like people would have been like, "Oh, look at him, not so great without Scottie Pippen, are you?" Like like that kind of thing.
Yeah, because you got to
Um.
think of like the Jordan haters before were probably like Wilt Chamberlain, Bill Russell fans. Like Michael Jordan's nothing.
The old heads of that time.
And they're not, they fade away as time goes, and so that seeing I guess a hate base of sorts change like that, that would be fun to watch.
So mine, we kind of talked about it in like previous episodes, but what if Kevin Durant never joined the 73-9 Warriors?
Mm.
For me, that's one of my biggest what ifs, because I really do feel like, although they were are the best team ever to be assembled, like, I really feel like that Thunder team could have beat them, and they showed that they could, but they blew a 3-1 lead. They ended up choking. So, and then after that, the Thunder was never the same. KD ended up leaving. Russ essentially all alone, tried to get PG and Carmelo. That only lasted 1 or 2 seasons. So I don't know. For me, that's like one of my biggest what ifs. What if KD never left? And on top of that, too, you could be like, also, what if KD stayed with Thunder? What if the Thunder ended up keeping Harden, Russ, and KD? Stuff like that, just kind of like little spin-offs of that, because for me, I also wonder about that too. Like, what if they ended up keeping those 3? Would they have started Harden over Cephalosha, or would Harden be a career 6-man? So
I think looking at it from each player's perspective, I think it kind of hurts their career only because they won't be getting those MVPs collectively,
mhm.
and they won't be making as much money because they just couldn't afford it if they all stick together like that. Or if they
That's true.
did, they'd have like minimum vets all the
Mhm.
way through down the roster. I think that window was pretty exclusive in their younger years, but I think it was there to win a championship. Even
Yeah, for
after
sure.
Harden was gone, like they could have done it.
Mhm.
I swear to you, like it was there, and it just all the trades happen. KD walks away. We all know how history goes. But I think eventually, one or two of them are going to have to just leave at some point, whether it be
Right.
for like legacy sake or money sake, But at least at that point, you don't really lose them for nothing, because we all know Harden's trade was too early. Like had they waited, like maybe even a better 6-man, a better all-star, a starter, whatever, could have gotten more in return. Even with KD, if he requests a trade, like rather than just walking to the Warriors to like scoop up easy wins,
Mhm.
like at least Russ would have been set up with a better team built around him. But man, KD just destroyed the league for the longest time, not just the OKC Thunder.
Right.
Yeah, I'm kind of I feel like them keeping Harden I feel like that would be like, I don't know, bro. I feel like the Thunder just wouldn't do that. Because they really did just see him as a 6-man, like a good 6-man. They really never saw him as anything more than that.
Yeah, that's what
Which
I was
is
saying. Like, would he still have like developed to become the? Obviously, he probably wouldn't have won MVP being on that team, but would he have developed the MVP caliber type of play while he was still on that team, or would he just be a career 6-man?
Right. Like he could be like the MVP of 6-man. It wouldn't
Yeah.
be Lou Williams or Jamal Williams. Being
Jamal
like the
Crawford.
GOAT 6-man.
Yeah.
Crawford, yeah. It's Harden is the 6-man.
Yeah, I was gonna say kind of like a Manu type 6-man.
Yeah. So like I don't know if he would be more respected because in a way, like Lou Williams, Jamal Crawford, they have no haters.
Yeah.
I wonder if James Harden would have been the same way because like James Harden has a huge like group that hate him,
Mhm.
for requesting all the trades and such. But I wonder how that legacy looks today if he doesn't do that.
True.
Okay, if we're done with that, mine is kind of a twofer, so I'm cheating a little here. But we got T-Mac and Grant Hill in Orlando. Grant Hill doesn't suffer that like gruesome ankle injury that kind of just derails his career after that. But in 2000, the Spurs were going to lose Tim Duncan to the Magic until Greg Popovich convinced them otherwise. So we could have seen Tim Duncan, Grant Hill, and T-Mac all together in a rather weak Eastern Conference at the time. No, this would have been before Pistons, I think. Before them going against the Lakers. And even after, I think they'd have stuck together pretty well. But you got a crazy scoring duo in T-Mac and Grant Hill. Not that Tim Duncan isn't a very good scorer. But I think just him being the anchor on the defense and just him being like his quiet leadership, that would have been such a crazy team to witness. Plus, they had guys like D. Brown, Mike Miller. So they had solid role players around them too. I would have liked to have seen that team at least go to the finals one time. But this also has that ripple effect. Like they probably don't get Dwight Howard at any point.
Mm.
Which like I think if you got a Tim Duncan, T-Mac, Grant Hill combo, I don't think you're mad at that. But I think at least they make the finals once. If Dwight Howard did it once, I think this team can do it once.
And Dwight Howard he wasn't alone, but it was just a bunch of role players, So
Right.
yeah, they would definitely make it. That would be crazy though, bro. That would actually be crazy. Grant Hill, a good Grant Hill, because like you gotta think about it. He was basically like LeBron before LeBron. Like he was the most unguardable player, and on top of that, he could play spectacular defense, So, and then we all know T-Mac, 13 points in like 9 seconds, whatever, prolific scorer, and Tim Duncan, one of the best on the block players of all time. So it's like, bro, you put all three of them together on a team, they might break some records. I don't know what records, but they might break some records.
That would just be an insane defensive team in general, too, bro.
Yep.
I think what's also crazy is like during this era, a lot of like the Orlando Magic was on the rise, bro. Like a lot of people are waiting to see what would happen with like T-Mac and Grant Hill, like before, like just like when he was injured. A lot of people were waiting to see like what was gonna happen then, and then like imagine if they were actually successful. Imagine all the other people that would have like flocked to Orlando, bro. I'm not saying they're gonna be like a 5-star super team, but like I'm just saying like all the like just decent role players and like just guys that they could have just scooped up to make them like a proficient like contender in the East and the NBA just in general.
Mm-hmm.
Right, because we look at them today, they're basically a poverty franchise. They just
They for sure are.
they don't have like a history of winning, and I think that would have at least changed that whether they win a championship or not. I think where I get so like cautious about this, guess who that head coach was at the time? Doc Rivers, the infamous Doc Rivers. You know, he found a way to only win one championship with 4 Hall of Famers. He got 3 Hall of Famers here. You know, maybe he gets to the finals. You know, maybe he screws something up. Maybe there's a lot that could go wrong there. But you know, this was on his his come up. So where he did make a name for himself, at least in the regular season. And we all know like Doc Rivers is a great regular season coach, but playoff time, different story.
All right, bet.
All right.
So, you want to go or you want me to go?
I can go.
All right.
I gotta obviously eventually bring up my background. What if Derrick Rose never had that? Like, what if Tom worked you to the bone? Thibodeau took this man out of the game when he should have. What if he didn't let him play garbage time and said, "Sit down. You know, we need you when it's important." Like, I couldn't, like, bro, the Bulls were on the rise during this era, bro. Like, I feel like we often forget how good the Bulls were when Derrick Rose is healthy.
Oh, yeah.
Like, people always forget that. Like, how often they went into the playoffs and how far they made it and how, like, they were low-key dominant in the regular season as well.
Mm-hmm.
And after Derrick Rose goes down, bro, it's just downhill for the Bulls franchise in general, bro.
For the Bulls and him. Just
all true. Both. So, like, I'm not saying, like, Derrick Rose, like, I'm doing this for, like, because, like, Derrick Rose getting injured just changes, like, everything. It changes the whole Eastern Conference, basically.
Mm-hmm.
I just like imagine if, like, he got sat down during that garbage time like he should have been.
Yep.
I remember John Wall describing Derrick Rose, and he was the guy guys took sick days for because they didn't want to defend him because he was so lethal, you know. I think it would have been really interesting to see the later years because we could talk about like the height of him, and he'd probably go against the Heat a lot of the time. They'd be rivals basically.
Mm-hmm.
But what if like it lasted so long, like he was there for like a Steph Curry rivalry? You know, what if it was Bulls Warriors instead of Cavs Warriors? Like that would have been crazy.
This is also one of my, I'm sure it's like probably everyone's biggest what ifs. You know, what if Derrick Rose never got hurt? But I really think that he would have been the greatest point guard of all time if he never got hurt. Like, we still haven't seen a rookie win MVP since he did it. You know what I mean? So, like, that's just special in itself. And on top of that, like you mentioned, Angel, he was just carrying the Bulls franchise, not by himself, because also, obviously, you know, he had, like, people like Boozer, Dang, Joakim Noah, you know? But,
Yeah.
you know, he had that backpack on. He was in his bag, you know? So it's just like, damn, man, why'd you have to get hurt?
No, bro, I'll forever hate Tom for that shit, bro. And you know what's even crazier? Imagine a healthy Derrick Rose playing with Jimmy Butler, bro.
Mm-hmm.
Because Jimmy Butler got drafted a year before that injury, bro. Who knows? Maybe he wouldn't have gotten playing time. Like, that is a possibility. Because, like, bro, like I said, when Derrick Rose got injured, the Bulls franchise went from, like, here to, like, here. Like, it was a quick fall off as soon as he was injured.
Right.
But, like, just imagine, bro, a healthy Derrick Rose with a young Jimmy Butler, bro.
Yeah, I think
that would have been a all-time Chicago duo.
Bro, yeah, and, like, who knows? Maybe we still see Jimmy in Chicago. You know,
Yeah.
even whatever
sure.
happens with Derrick Rose, maybe we still see him in Chicago because obviously they would probably win a lot of games. They would probably go deep in the playoffs, you know. And Chicago's a market in which people more or less want to go to. Maybe not right now because they suck, but
Even then, I think they're top 3 in ticket sales every year, and
Yeah.
they're ass right now, which is crazy.
exactly. So it's like the market is good, but maybe we see Jimmy Butler as a career Bulls player, and not the fuck, I forgot the word. The What do you call it?
No clue.
I can't think of the term, but maybe we don't see Jimmy Butler, go around the league as much as he has, which, side note, I've been very surprised by. But yeah, that's besides the point. Yeah, a lot of ripple effects come with Derrick Rose not getting hurt.
No, for real.
Well, I got to talk about my background too, Mr. Brandon Roy. This one is definitely by far my biggest what if. Dame Lillard before Dame Lillard. Tremendous all-star shooting guard, but his knees couldn't keep up. His knees couldn't keep up. He was a big time player, made big time plays, a fan favorite. He was literally Damian Lillard before Damian Lillard. What we know Damian Lillard as, Brandon Roy was. So I don't know if he necessarily popularized the three, but he was a good 3-point shooter as well. I don't want to say he was a liability on offense, but that wasn't his primarily strong suit, But yeah, he retired very, very quickly, unfortunately, because he had so many injuries. But yeah, Brandon Roy was him when he was playing.
Like, had he had like a longer stretch, I think they could have figured out the defense thing. Like you see smaller point guard or smaller guards get like a scheme built around them, make up for that. Like whether it be a Donovan Mitchell or even Damian Lillard at some points, and Steph Curry even.
Mm-hmm.
Like if his scoring as valuable as it was, like you have to build around that. And I think they would have at least did everything they could to give him the weapons he needed. Who was his teammate? Was it LaMarcus Aldridge at the time? And
Yeah,
it would
I
have
think
been
it was
Greg Oden.
a young Aldridge and Greg Oden.
See, there's a lot of what ifs of that too. Like Greg Oden also plagued by injuries, but like I remember they only played like less than 50 games together. But when they did, they had
it was crazy.
Yeah, it was a winning record. It was really good.
Mm-hmm.
So there was that sweet spot before the Warriors dynasty that if everyone was healthy, they could have done something. They could have did some damage. They could have walked away with a chip. At
Also,
very least,
Damian
would have
Lillard
changed their legacy.
Yeah,
Oh,
Dame would be a Blazer then.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Because he was only a Blazer because of Brandon Roy's injuries, so they started like falling.
Yep. Which it would make sense if like Brandon Roy's rookie was Damian Lillard, because Damian plays a lot like Brandon Roy.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? It's very picturesque.
Yeah. So but like this is how lucky for the Blazers that they lose like a star point guard and they just get another one just like the year after.
Yeah.
Like, not even like a year later they just get one right back. I don't know, bro. It's insane. It's kind of hard to say what would happen because like I feel like though they could have been like a solidified playoff team for sure.
Well,
Just
I mean, they did make the playoffs. I don't know if it was like a couple times or a few times, but even then, it was just him and his injuries just could not keep up. Because wait, hold on, let me see. I think I have something here. Yeah, 4th year in the NBA. He played 65 games and was limited to 3 playoff appearances. So it was like that, like they were good enough to make the playoffs, but then after playing 82 games, your body's gonna catch up with you no matter what. And his just caught up to him a little too a little too fast.
Yeah, well, I mean, because they made it to the playoffs 3 times when he was there, but they never made it past the first round.
Mm-hmm.
So, like, what I mean by solidified playoff team is like, bro, like it would have been like back when like Drexler was on the team.
Mm-hmm.
Like, just always consistently, like they're at least going to the second round. Maybe conference finals, like every now and then, but like, bro, because like, look, if you look at here, like, bro, 2, 4, 3 years in a row, like, bro, if he was healthy, I could definitely see them like getting some of those playoff like first rounds, like getting to the second round, maybe
Right.
even going to the conference finals.
I don't
And
know.
then,
The
like,
Blazers might be cursed though, bro, because the same thing happened to Dame. Couldn't get out the first round for the longest.
oh no, for sure. I mean, he got swept by the Pelicans, bro. That's crazy.
I mean, they do seem really cursed because you look at their draft misses, and they could have had Jordan but didn't pick him. They could have had Kevin Durant and they didn't pick him. It does seem a cursed franchise.
Yeah.
I did look up the 2012 draft to see like who Dame could have gone to, like, because in this scenario, I don't think Portland has that 6th pick. The following pick would have been Golden State with Harrison Barnes. I don't think they would have picked up Dame just because Curry, But Toronto picked up Terrence Ross. Now they could have picked up Dame.
That would
Dame
have
and
been
DeMar, that would have been a fun duo right there. I won't lie.
Instead
I
of
don't know
Big
how
Blue Lowry,
successful.
that would have been hard.
Yeah, like that would have been fun to watch. And Toronto would have loved Damian Lillard.
I was about to say that throws out like another what if. Like, what if that happened? Would DeMar
Right.
still be in Toronto? Would how well would Dame do? That's crazy.
I feel like Dame would have still been in because, like, if he stayed with the Blazers, they literally did nothing, bro.
That's true.
Like,
And
he
then,
would have stayed with
bro,
Toronto way longer.
on top of that, bro, the ripple effects, bro. Kawhi. Oh no, but Kawhi traded for DeMar, so that wouldn't have worked.
Yeah.
But even like before that, like LeBron was owning, they called him LeBronto because he just owned Toronto. Does that happen with Dame there? Like,
That's
I don't
true.
know who's stopping Dame and DeMar.
No, for real. The Dame is cold, bro. Like, bro, can you imagine Brandon Roy versus Dame in like a playoffs? And that's like major, like multiverse, like alternate dimension. Brandon Roy having to guard Dame, like like that would have been insane. I feel like the Blazers are cursed, bro. Because Bond brought up Greg Oden, also injury ridden, who was supposed to be a star
At the same time, they had them at the same time.
like that's actually insane, bro.
Yeah, bro. The Blazers might be cursed.
Oh, for real. All right.
It's funny that we mentioned the Raptors because my last one was going to be Kawhi never requests a trade. So whatever injury debacle he wasn't a fan of on the Spurs gets resolved. He stays on the Spurs. DeMar stays on the Raptors. I bring this up because recently DeMar DeRozan brought up the fact that if he had stayed in Toronto, he would have eventually won a championship with them. He said the issue was LeBron, not the Raptors.
I mean, you did just say LeBronto. You literally just did. Like they just couldn't get past LeBron.
Bro, I'm sorry. That Raptors team is not beating the Warriors. I'm sorry, bro. But if they couldn't beat like LeBron, they're not beating KD, Curry, and Clay. like I get what he's saying. They would have like more finals appearances, but he wouldn't be a champion, bro.
You don't think they would have snuck one in on the off chance? Because you got to think KD got hurt.
Okay,
I don't.
think this. One of the reasons, like, think about that Sixer series. Who won that Sixer series for them? Kawhi
Yeah, it's a
game-winning
shot, right?
shot. Like, they only won that series because of Kawhi's game-winning shot, bro.
Okay,
They
but-
might not beat the Sixers, bro.
Okay, but who's to say that it goes to game 7? Who's to say that the Raptors, don't win in an easier fashion?
I feel like if Kawhi is a better player than DeMar, if it took Kawhi 7 games, it would take. I feel like DeMar and the Raptors are gone in 6. If it like low key,
I actually feel like their greatest shot is 2020, not 2019.
yeah, I
Um,
agree.
The bubble for the Raptors, like we talk about how good the Raptors were post Kawhi had he stayed. At least they
Yeah.
would have another main guy in his place in 2020. I think that would have been their go ahead right there. The following years, I can't really say. Like older players started dropping off, Serge Ibaka, Mike Gasol. So it would have had to been 2020, if any. But Kawhi still on the Spurs also changes their future
No,
because
for
they
real.
don't trade DeJounte Murray. LaMarcus Aldridge, I think, was supposed to be like their guy post Tim Duncan. And he was an all-star after Kawhi left on the Spurs, I'm pretty sure. I don't think they would have been, a deep playoff team every single year, but I think everyone would have always been scared of them because of Kawhi, because of Greg Popovich. You didn't want to meet that team in the playoffs. It would still be somewhat of a boogeyman.
Because the Spurs still made it to the playoffs that year. They just lost in 7 to the Nuggets. They would have at least gone maybe further and made the playoffs a lot more in recent years. Because, like, bro, they haven't made the playoffs since that Kawhi trade.
Yeah, that's true.
And, like, I'm literally looking at it. They lost Game 7 to the Nuggets, haven't been back since.
Because I think even before that point, Greg Popovich had like the highest winning percentage of a coach. But ever since then, they've just been losing, and that's changed. So at least he would have that record still under his belt.
Yeah. I think the saddest ripple effect we would get is we would not have no Embiid crying meme, bro. We will lose that video of Embiid crying in the tunnel. And that iconic photo of Kawhi by the bench, like squatting, waiting for that like ball to fall. And then there would still be no game-winning shot to close the series. That record would still be a thing. Kawhi is the only, like, he is the record holder for like a game-winning shot. Like, he was the first person to do it
Right.
to
So
win a
like,
series.
let's say the Sixers win that series, they face the Bucks in the Eastern Conference Finals. Who goes to the finals at that point? Because this was before I think Drew Holiday got there. It would have been Eric Bledsoe as point guard. So they don't have the spacing that they did on their championship run. And the Sixers got Jimmy Butler. They might go to the finals. Embiid would have broke the curse. Basically, the Spurs have robbed Joel Embiid of a possible ring.
Because are we assuming that the Warriors are still injury-ridden in the finals?
Yeah, because I think
I would
KD
assume
was
so.
injured before finals and just
Mhm.
re-aggravated his injury.
So the East is getting a ring that year no matter what, bro. Bucks, Raptors, Sixers. Someone is getting an important ring. Embiid might not be a fraud. Giannis would be even more of a legend. Or DeMar DeRozan is, sitting on his podcast talking about how, once LeBron left, he had a ring, like
Right.
it really, like, imagine Kyle Lowry, bro, with a ring. Like, that would be insane. No, that's a very interesting one. We always talk about what if Kawhi stays in Toronto, but we never talk about what if he stays in San Antonio. So that was very interesting.
Mhm.
All right, mine. I'm also I'm kind of going differently. Mine is more about what if this person didn't have this part of their personality, and that is what if Melo wasn't a bag chaser? What if he took that pay cut he was supposed to go to the Heat and just didn't keep taking the fat checks New York was handing him? Would Carmelo Anthony have a ring? Would he be more respected just in general? Because like, low, bro, let's be honest, bro. After he like people started losing respect with him more and more. The longer he stayed in New York, the more people I saw like Carmelo haters pop up. So I feel like what would have happened if you took that pay cut and went to Miami?
I can tell you exactly. When I asked what was everyone's least favorite celebration, I would have did Carmelo 3 to the dome. I would have lost all respect for that man.
He said if that happened, that would have been our response. I mean, I feel like okay, it would not have had the same effect, but it would have been a similar move as KD leaving to the Warriors. You know what I mean? A really good player going to a really good team. Basically like, like a star player going to another team with other stars on it. You know what I mean?
The OGKD.
Yeah, exactly. He would have been the first. And then they would have I feel like they would have ended up like a better version of the Celtics. They got 4 or 5 Hall of Famers on that team, and then just straight hooping. Eric Spoelstra wouldn't even have to coach. It'd just be feed the hot man, lob it up to LeBron, set some screens.
No, for real. I mean, I think the biggest what if would be like, what would happen to Bosch, bro? Like, would he stay in Toronto? Would he go somewhere else? Because like it was supposed to be Carmelo, and then of course Carmelo's like, yo, I like, bro, generational wealth. That's what he said to himself, and so he went to New York instead, and so they got Bosch. Like, imagine, bro, would have Bosch stayed in Toronto if like, or would he have gone somewhere else? Because I don't know who else was interested in him. That's another what if, bro. Like, what would happen to Chris Bosch's career?
I mean, he was definitely a peak player at the time, but I don't think anyone was interested in him because everyone knew that he wanted to go to Miami or, play with LeBron.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So that may have played a role. I could be wrong. But I don't know.
So if we're saying like Carmelo's in Miami instead of Bosch, do they win less or more rings or the same rings? Because Bosch sacrificed a lot to be a team player. He went from power forward to center. He dropped in points. He focused more on defense to let LeBron and D Wade do what they do. D Wade sacrificed money for that to happen, just in general. Would Carmelo sacrifice as a player? Because this is the same guy who wanted Linsanity dead and gone and out of New York,
I feel like if this is the Melo who wouldn't be bag chasing, he's gotta sacrifice. But I feel like, bro, saying they're gonna win more is kind of a stretch.
Yeah.
I feel like they wouldn't win more. I feel like it's either gonna be exactly the same or like less. Cause like
I was just gonna say, in my eyes, there's no way they win less.
it might just be rearranged, honestly.
Right.
But in my eyes, there's no way they win more.
No.
Like,
no.
I just don't see it.
What was I gonna say? I guess so. They're all friends, LeBron, Melo, and D Wade. So I assume there would be no ego.
Yeah.
With that being said, taking that into account, if I were to, who was their point guard in center?
Mario Chalmers, point guard, and then
Was it Birdman?
I want to say Birdman.
That was
I
a
think
good
it
Mario
was.
Chalmers. That was a good Mario Chalmers. So, you got Mario Chalmers running point, floor general doing his thing, getting the open threes when he can, either passing it out to, like a driving cut system with two D Wade on one side or Melo on the other. You got LeBron playing power forward, I would assume, and then Birdman, an agile center. That's how I would run it. Spoelstra got his own system. I feel like it could work. I just don't think they win more with
Yeah,
interchanging Bosch and Melo. You know what I mean?
Mm.
But there's no way they win less.
I feel like
There's
they
no
would.
I
way.
think they do.
Really?
Really.
Carmelo isn't known for his defense, and at least Bosch transitioned to focus on making the team defense better. I don't see a scenario where Carmelo does that, you know.
That's true. That's true.
But like,
I don't think he would transition to become better at defense.
the scoring output, bro.
Who needs defense?
Scoring,
You got offense.
bro. No, for real. Just think about how many, because they were already dropping a shit ton of points, which is LeBron and Wade.
Right.
Imagine how many points they're dropping with substitute. I'm seeing games go early 2000s. I'm seeing games go not early 2010s is what I meant. I'm seeing games going 101 to 112, Heat winning by 112,
Mhm.
I'm seeing high scoring games from the Heat, but just scoring output nonstop.
I mean, also true because then you got to think about rotations, and if you want
ISO.
anyone, right? If you
So
want
Joe.
if you want anyone to play with your bench, it's either going to be Melo or D Wade. You know what
Yeah.
I mean? So I don't know. It's a lot. It's a lot to take into account. But yeah, he definitely wouldn't play any more defense than he already did.
Mm.
But I
Oh,
do
no, for real.
think I think Birdman might be or may go down in this situation, may go down as a better weapon on this team. You know what I mean?
He would have to be, out of
Exactly.
necessity.
He would be remembered more on that team than he is now.
Yeah.
I will say maybe if Carmelo's there, JJ Barea doesn't lock up LeBron, and Carmelo just takes over. Maybe they win that championship. Who knows? But there would be no Chris Bosh kicks it out to Ray Allen in the corner for the three.
True, but they might not need it.
Yeah, that's true. They might not need it, but who knows?
Because Carl Anthony's hitting the three originally and doing the three to the dome, making you hate it and making you hate the celebration. Because they're gonna be like, I remember when
God.
Melo hit that stupid 3-pointer and did the three to the dome to get them their whatever number ring. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, bro, that ripple effect is that's a
Yeah.
strong one right there.
It's just one of my favorite tidbits, that because even D Wade in his documentary, he was like, "Yeah, bro, Carmelo Anthony was supposed to come and take a pay cut, but then he chased the bag with New York."
All right, bet. My turn, right?
Yes, sir.
All right, so I'm gonna go.
This one's the
I'm gonna-
last one.
Yeah, I'm gonna go way back, way back. So, to a player who never even saw an NBA minute. A little history lesson. So, drafted by the Celtics, second overall in 1986. Len Bias was supposed to be basically the GOAT. It was supposed to be, I'm saying supposed to because he never played an NBA minute, but it was supposed to be Len Bias versus Michael Jordan. He was getting compared a lot to Michael Jordan just, based off of play style and whatever. I forgot what college he went to,
Maryland.
It was Maryland.
Yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, he was supposed to play with Larry Bird, Kevin McHale, that whole team. But unfortunately, being in the 80s, they had a little cocaine usage. And unfortunately he died. So
That's the only reason why I know he went to Maryland, because he went back to his dorm. Like he went back to his dorm and like he celebrated and shit, and then like he died of a cocaine overdose in his dorm room.
that's crazy. I didn't know all that, but
Yeah, that's the only reason why I know he went to Maryland.
that's so insane. But yeah, he was he was supposed to be up there with the Michael Jordans and the Larry Birds and the Magic Johnsons, you know what I mean? So I don't know. Who knows how his career would have ended up, but I've always found that story a little interesting because it's like, dang, bro, could have been so much. He had so much potential.
Oh no, for sure. I mean, I think what's craziest is that like he might have even been like a trailblazer, bro, because he was a 6'8" small forward, bro. Like he would have and he was an athletic, all around scorer as well, bro. So he would have been like, we would making KD would have Len Bias comparisons, bro.
Yeah, actually.
So KD wouldn't be seen as much as a special like, don't get me wrong, KD would still be seen special, but like it would be more like, oh, we know how KD plays and how he should play because we've seen how Len Bias played. Like that's
Right.
how like much of a unique talent he was supposed to be.
Like 6'8" small forward was not heavily
In the 80s, bro. 6'8" small
seen at that time.
Power forward or center. Like he would have been, he said, get in the paint.
Get on the block. Give me some post moves.
No, for real.
Yeah, like he sounds like a guy you pass the torch to, and he's the face of the franchise after Bird's tenure.
Yeah.
This probably would have changed a lot of things, like no Antoine Walker, no Paul Pierce years on the Celtics. Considering like if Bias was as good as he is, they probably wouldn't be in like the lottery for the draft. Maybe even another banner even earlier, like instead of the Paul Pierce championship they talk about all the time, it's Len Bias's. I don't know. But yeah, kind of robbed out of something special for the league right there.
No, for real, like, bro. And then like he was drafted at like a special time too, where like he would have been able to play with those Celtics greats for like a little bit as well.
Mm-hmm.
Like a Len Bias, like off the bench rookie year, bro.
Right. And then through the Jordan era, so it would have been, how does that stack up? Do we see a Boston Chicago rivalry, or do we just see a Len versus Jordan rivalry, or I don't know, does Jordan walk away with 6 rings?
Yeah.
So yeah, it's a lot to toss up there.
That's a very sad note to end on, but you know what? We are unfortunately running out of time. Any honorable mentions? One that you wanted to mention, but kind of fell by because you had other ones.
The only honorable mention I had as a backup, in case someone did one of mine, was a Tyson Chandler trade to the OKC Thunder, because that got vetoed because of his injury health or whatever. But him with KD and eventually Russell Westbrook, he basically would have been a better Kendrick Perkins at that time.
Yeah.
And Kendrick Perkins like overinflates his values as if I was there, we never would have lost 3-1. Like, yeah, right. If Tyson Chandler was there, maybe they wouldn't have lost a 3-1 series,
Because that would have been like Knicks Tyson Chandler.
I think this would have been post Mavs championship.
Tyson Chandler. So yeah, like a good Tyson Chandler.
She's still good. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. My honorable mention was Brandon Roy. I knew it wasn't gonna not be brought up, so, but yeah, like all of mine got said.
The only one that I can think of, which I think we brought up last episode, was what if Kobe stayed, or what if Charlotte
Oh, yeah.
kept
Kobe.
Kobe, and what if he stayed? But yeah, no, other than that, I don't have any.
Oh, what if Penny Hardaway never got injured? Will Shaq have stayed with the Magic?
Mm.
I feel like,
Shaq would have stayed if the Magic weren't cheap, bro.
yeah, I was gonna say, I feel like,
What if the Magic had more cap?
I feel like the only thing that would have changed was this Penny Hardaway's like actual career rather than like the Orlando Magic themselves.
Mhm.
All right. Next week's episode is going to be our last episode in the What If series, and it's What If moments. Basically, what if these shots went in? What if this foul was never called? Yada yada yada. If you are listening on Spotify or any podcast platforms, make sure you give us that good old 5 stars. Leave a review. We're also on YouTube for video formats, so make sure you like and subscribe there. We're on all social media platforms at Spin a Rock for clips and episode updates. Thank you for listening, and we'll see you again next week.